Well, hello and a very good morning, a very good afternoon, and a very good evening, based on the time in which you'll be watching this video. Ninthers, I guess this will be my second video of the day. Geography was done, history now, and while we are doing history, we were doing about the southern India and the kingdoms, the Cholas, Cheras, and the Pandyas. We were talking about the different sources, and now we'll be moving on to the next chapter, that is the Cholas and the South India under the Cholas. And in this chapter, most of the parts have been excluded. What is actually remaining in this chapter is the sources, most importantly, the Brihadeshwar temple in Thanjavur or Tanjore, and the inscriptions, the different inscriptions which tell us about the Chola Empire or which help us reconstruct the Chola Empire. And the other part which is there in the chapter or which is there included in the syllabus will be the part of the administration of Raja Rajvan and Rajendravan. So we'll be doing or we'll be starting with the sources and the sources which help us reconstruct as we were talking or as we have been talking in the different videos, previous videos. The sources are the ones which help us and the historians actually study about those periods, reconstruct those periods, and help us come to some kind of or help us get some kind of an idea about the cultural, political, social, and the different other ways or the different other parts of the empire which used to or the period of history which was there sometime or which existed sometime in the history of our country or of the world. So when we are talking of these sources become particularly important. Sources may be literary sources, sources may be archaeological sources. Now, when we are talking of the Brihadeshwara temple, the Brihadeshwara temple being one of the finest specimen of the Chola architecture. Now, this temple over here tells us about the architecture, how, what were the materials being used, how developed was the architecture, how developed was the scientific ways in which the architecture of the Brihadeshwara temple was, or the Brihadeshwara temple, how it was constructed. Those ways we can understand what were the different scientific achievements of the day, and this way we can reconstruct the archaeological, the architectural, the scientific advancements of the Chola Empire or of any empire if we are talking of the architectural or the archaeological sources. Literary sources tell us about the or different literary sources tell us about how the people used to live, how the societies were functioning. So let us now talk about the Brihadeshwara temple. Well, I'll be having to this part. Well, the Brihadeshwara temple, the features of it and all, you will have to refer to the book. It is well laid down over there in the book, whichever book you are following, or you can, better still, you can just Google it, the image, and alongside that, the features of. So when we are talking of the Brihadeshwara temple, well, the Brihadeshwara temple, the Cholas had built many majestic palaces, grand temples, and this Brihadeshwara temple, or this is also known as the Rajarajeshwara temple, and it is located in Thanjavur, Tanjore. And this temple was built around 1000 AD by Rajaraj the Great of the Chola dynasty, Rajaraj I. This temple is dedicated to Lord Shiva. Now, this provides us one of the best specimen of the Dravidian style of architecture. And when we are talking of this, some of the very prominent features of this will be that firstly, it has a massive tower and which is known as the Vimana, massive tower which is above the main building, or it is the projection which is there on the top of the temple. It is you may be finding it on top of many of those temples which were built during those periods. The Jagannath temple, you have the Lingaraj temple in Bhubaneswar, some such temples. So over here also there's a massive tower, Viman, which is rising up to a height of some 180 feet. So the height of the tower which is there above the main part of the temple, the Garbhagriha. The Garbhagriha of any temple is the sanctum sanctorum, or the place where the main deity or the idol is kept, and that main deity, main idol is kept in the Garbhagriha where the main rituals take place, and above it there is and it is mainly above the Garbhagriha that we have the tower or the Viman. So this Viman was of a height of 180 feet. Now this tower was crowned by a massive dome. So above the tower there was this massive dome. So this tower was not totally pointed at the top. This tower was rising, and above, at the end of the tower, at the apex of the tower, there's this massive dome, and which is a single block of stone. So this dome was made up of single block of stone, and which weighs somewhere around 80 tons. Next important feature is that the Garbhagriha, it has a colossal or a very huge Shivaling, and which is nearly 9 meters high. So you can understand the hugeness of the temple itself, because if the Shivling or the main deity inside or the Shivling inside is rising up to a height of 9 meter, so the temple has to be huge. And next very important thing is that the outer doorway is flanked by two gigantic Dwarpals. Now, what are Dwarpals? Dwarpals are nothing but statues which used to be made by, or which were there in the, if you just look at the Yaksha and the Yakshini, it is there found just outside the RBI's head office. And Yaksha and the Yakshini is, it is nothing but, it is one of the modern day examples. Outside the gates of the RBI's headquarters, you'll find two massive statues which are guarding the gates. Now, the statues cannot be guarding the gates, but it was regarded in the previous times, in the previous days, in the past, that they may be having some kind of a significance, and which will be keeping away negative energy, negative forces from something important. So the Yaksha Yakshini is there in the RBI's or outside the RBI's headquarters. Similarly, there used to be Dwarpals outside main temples, and over here also there are two huge Dwarpals which are there guarding the main temple or guarding the entrance of the temple. Next, the walls of the inner walls contain fine sculptures of various deities, and tells us about the stories of those times, these sculptures. Now, when we are talking of the architectural part, this temple tells us a lot about the period of the Cholas. The inscriptions, the wall inscriptions are there, which tells us about, in this temple, which tells us about the part or times of the Cholas. We'll be coming to the inscriptions right now. Now, when inscriptions which were found of this period, inscriptions were both in Tamil and Sanskrit, and they were found all over the Chola kingdom. They were engraved on stone or metal walls, and therefore they could not be tampered with. Now, when you are engraving something on stone or metal wall, it cannot be tampered with. Writing something on paper may be tampered with, but not on stone and metal walls. Now, some of the inscriptions tell us about the exact dates or the times in which some ruler came into power, sat on the throne, or the different conquests, different fights they had. The Brihadeshwara temple inscription gives measurements of the lands which were gifted to the temple by Rajaraja I, and some of them describes the various ornaments worn by the deities, and details of weight of gold and gems and the manner of their setting. So the deities which were there inside, so these inscriptions tells us about the gold which were adorning the deities. So you see that you will find it today also, that many deities, many idols, they are adorned with gold and silver and many other precious gems and stones. So even in that time, the inscriptions tells us about the amount of gold which was there, and the different other gems and the other precious metals and the other precious gems which were placed on the deities. And a few copper plate inscriptions are preserved in the Museum of Leiden in the Netherlands. Now, the Dutch, they were in those areas. The Dutch East India Company had come and settled in those areas, so they took away a few inscriptions. These are displayed now in the Dutch Museum in Netherlands. Now, these inscriptions, which is there in the Brihadeshwara temple, they also record the gifts of land to the temples by the Chola king Parantaka in the 10th century AD. Now, these endowments came to be called as the Leiden Grant. Now, because grants, these were granted by those Leiden Grant because it is there in the Leiden Museum in Netherlands, and grants because they were granted by some king to the temple. So that is why it is called Leiden Grants. Now, the inscriptions refer to the deities where the temples are dedicated to this. Now, they tell us about the different religious beliefs of the people and what kind of deities or what kind of religious beliefs the Cholas or the kings held. Now, they also Well, it also tells us about how different religions coexisted during those times, and how different sects of the same Hinduism, the Shaivites, the Vaishnavites, they existed during those times. So these inscriptions are important because they tell us about the religious bonding which was there during the Chola Empire. Now the inscriptions also tell us about the Chola administration. The Uttar Merur inscription, for example, contains details about the village administration under the Cholas. Now, this inscription tells us about how the villages were managed, the different administrative levels in the village, and how the villages prospered under the Chola kingdom. It tells about the chief income which was there of the kingdom, that was land revenue, and it also tells how the land revenue was collected, how the surveys were done, and what was the actual, or what was the amount of tax which the peasants or the cultivators had to pay. So these inscriptions tell us or help us reconstruct the political life, the religious life, the social life, and the administration of the Chola Empire. How or what was the administration of Raja Rajvan and Rajendra One? Like, we will be talking about this in the next video, and if you did have any problem till this part, comment section is open for your problems. Please put in your problems over there, and I'll be getting back to you all. Till then, please take care, stay safe, be safe, and stay happy. Thank you.